Now, the prosecutor's investigator then asked him a specific question: who did the talking in this regard relating to the illegal campaign literature? And he answered that Elnathan Rudolph did all of the talking when it related to the illegal campaign literature. Then they asked Mr. Simoncini, where was Ellie Katz when Rudolph was discussing the illegal campaign literature? And Simoncini said he was there, but he was about 10 feet away. Then Simoncini was asked, could he be sure whether Mr. Katz heard the conversation about the illegal campaign literature or not? He said, well, he was 10 feet away, I can't be sure, but he was certainly there. Now, after the meeting, that was basically the end of his discussion of that meeting, and at the beginning, he says, I'm not going to get involved in illegal campaign literature. After the meeting, he says that in the next day, or several days that followed, he got several emails. He quantified them as 4 emails from Elnathan Rudolph. And these emails contained the language that they wanted in the literature that they wanted Simoncini to prepare. And there were 4 of these emails. He erased all of these emails, but before he did, he made what he described as Word documents out of these 4 emails. And the prosecutor asked him, did you keep these Word documents? He responded, yes, I did. And then he was asked to bring them into the Bergen County Prosecutor's office, and he did. Now, the 4 Word documents are then, we saw them, they were in the prosecutor's file separate from the statement. And Marty and I both went over word for word the 4 Word documents. The first 2 Word documents are exactly the same wording as the tax fairness for Teaneck documents that we've talked about, the 2 items for tax fairness for Teaneck. Okay. That would be this one, the new beginnings equals new taxes. And oh yeah, the sheet that was sent out to tenants that says wise new beginnings ignoring tenants. These are exactly the language that ends up being in these 2 pieces of literature. The other 2 are exactly the same language as are contained in the Teaneck Deal No Deal and the puppet with the puppets on the back. The exact language of that literature is in the third Word document, and the one is who is really behind TNB from, again, both of these are the P.O. Box in Mattawan, were the exact language of the 3rd and 4th Word documents that he had prepared from the emails. Now, I also, that's it for the statement that he gave to the prosecutor. Well, I personally, then, in a couple of days after that, when Marty and I determined to start making this information public, because we did think about it for a long time, about whether this information should be made public, and we concluded that we were not under any kind of prohibition to not make it public, and we also concluded that by inviting us in to look at this information, the prosecutor, for whatever reason, was not going to go forward with the investigation, but wanted us to see this information. I think, in my view, that he thought it was more of a political issue than a criminal issue, although we disagreed with that. I spoke to Simoncini over the phone. He lives in Ridgewood, and he did, in fact, corroborate the information that he had given to the Bergen County prosecutor. He said that he would talk to me at length about it, but he said he would make no further public statements about it. If he was asked in public, he would admit that he made the statement, but that's it. He's not going to go further than what he said in the statement. He said he was afraid if he did, he would lose a business with the landlords in town, and that's what it said. Marty and I did correspond with the prosecutor, and Marty drew up a letter dated April 5th, summarizing what I've just told you, and asking the prosecutor why he did not want to go forward, because we had been told at the time we went there that he was not going to go forward and further investigate. And we made, of course, an argument in there in the letter, which you can see. I've copied some here for you, so whoever wants to come up and look at it can look at the arguments that we made with the prosecutor to continue the investigation. Some of the arguments we made was that nobody who was investigated was put under oath. And in our experiences, both as a former assistant prosecutor myself and as many years of legal experience for Marty, that the only way you get the truth in an investigation is to put people under oath, and even to impanel a grand jury to get people under oath and to get them to talk under oath. I will say also that, although this was not part of the Simoncini statement, other parts of the file indicate that they did contact Elnatan Rudolph. Elnatan Rudolph was contacted because he was in the building one day going to his job at the Bergen County Improvement Authority, and they asked him to stop down to the prosecutor's office, and they asked him about the Simoncini statement. He denied ever having met Simoncini or ever having discussed the illegal campaign literature with him, but he also was not under oath at that time. Mayor Katz was not interviewed with this investigation. The candidate that we had told them had come to us on, I think 2 days before the election, had come to Lisette Barker and myself. We were all campaigning at the same place, and told us that he knew who the people were who was responsible for this campaign literature, but he wasn't able to tell us. He was not interviewed, despite the fact that we gave his name to the Bergen County prosecutor. He was not interviewed. And those were some of the problems that we had. The money that we had reported some, what we felt were election law violations relating to campaign money that had been contributed by the county Democratic organization to one of the candidates, and then wheeled to Adam Gusson and Elnatan Rudolph's campaign to the tune of about $15,000 or $16,000. $16,000 paid in kind for campaign literature from one of the other candidates, who also is, I believe, employed by the county, to Gusson and Rudolph. That money was not investigated at all. Now, there is an election law in New Jersey, and I want to read it to you, that makes this type of literature illegal. And again, I've made copies of this statute available on the front desk for those of you who want to come up later and look at it. But I'm going to read the pertinent parts to you. It says, whenever this is statute 19:44A, etc., whenever a candidate, committee, or any person makes, incurs, or authorizes an expenditure for the purpose of financing a communication, aiding or promoting the nomination, election, or defeat of any candidate, or providing political information on any candidate, which is an expenditure that the committee, group, or person is required to report to the Election Law Enforcement Commission, the communication shall clearly state the name and business or residence address of the committee, group, or person, as that information appears on reports filed with the Commission, and that the communication has been financed by that committee, group, or person. Statute further goes on to say that a person who, with intent to injure anyone or to conceal wrongdoing, purposely falsifies, conceals, or misrepresents information required by this section to be disclosed or maintained on file is guilty of a crime of the 4th degree. Other parts of the statute also indicate that if elected individuals are found to have been responsible for this type of election law violations, and that if there is more than, I believe, $50,000 involved in the expenditures, and if the expenditure in the illegal literature could have had the possibility of changing the results of the election, that the elected official may forfeit their elected office.